I just want to take a second to think about a statistic that 98% of construction projects are delayed and above budget. That's not a small number. And most of them go above their cost by 80%. And 20 months slippage. Can you imagine the amount of money, the amount of resources, and how much waste is still happening in construction? So I'm going to take us back to an iconic item in construction, the helmet. The helmet, the hard hat, was invented in 1919. It was inspired by the steel helmet from the World War, and it became one of the mandates in construction. And what a simple, iconic tool to leverage in construction. Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, why don't I just attach a knob onto the helmet or clip it onto the side and then collect data of what's actually happening in construction? Even though we have massive amounts of data in the industry today, not enough companies are leveraging them using the proper or the right data analytics. So today I'm going to talk about a product that we launched earlier this month. It's called VerifyTime. And it takes us back to the basics of the biggest waste, the biggest source of waste in construction, which is the labor. So workforce management is still a challenge with all the really advanced and impressive technologies out there. It comes down to the people who are doing the work. And I loved a couple of the points that were brought up in previous presentations about productivity. So one of the keynote speakers said, productivity is really important. And the availability of workers here in the region is not an issue, but the control is. So how do you control that waste? How do you know what the workers are really doing? That's a question that a lot of technologies still don't address. Even though we've reached digital twin and BIM and IoT and predictive analytics, but all of these, at essence, at the core of all these technologies is the data. So when you have data coming in seamlessly from a little piece of hardware that's already on the hard hat, that the worker is already wearing, then we talk about change management. This way, you don't have to put up a fight and a struggle with the owners and the contractors and the subcontractors. Nobody wants to take on any extra cost. Unless you have a unicorn company where they have a beautiful, well-structured innovation department, or they have really excellent consultants telling them what they need to do, a lot of the time the contractor is going to tell you, I don't want to take on this extra cost. So let's dive a little bit deeper into how we can contribute in this revolution of construction technology. I have been fighting this fight for almost 20 years. I joined construction tech when I was 20 years old, and we've come a long way. And today I'm going to talk about how going back to the basics can bring us a long way in these mega projects that we're doing. Time is what we want the most, but what we use worst, especially in construction. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these papers. If any of you have been on a construction site, spoken to a site engineer, went around the site to do progress collection or a walkthrough, you've seen this. And this is a pain. So let's address the pain before we address the solution. This, it screams catastrophe on site. So you have inaccurate data, because obviously you're still doing the paper and the pen. Time theft. Time theft is something that's actually not talked about enough in the industry. People, they worry about the taboo that comes with the word theft. But in fact, when you are getting paid for something that you're not doing, that's exactly what it is. Time-consuming, gathering the data, entering the data, getting it into the dashboard, it takes forever in a manual process. And of course, you're going to have outdated and obsolete reporting. The impact, of course, all of us know the three things that we try to do with a project. We want to finish on time, we want to finish with good quality, and we want to finish within budget. So let's stop the manual process. The only way to stop the manual process is to start using some of these technologies. It's not going to happen magically. There's no magic wand where you're going to come and say, okay, you know what, this is just going to magically solve itself. So you have to choose the right product, you have to mandate and enforce change, and you need to stop doing this 3-day turnaround. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this helmet that I just showed you at the beginning. We have a patented integrated sensor inside this little piece of this knob, what we call here. And the battery life of this is 1.5 years. I don't ask the worker to charge this. I don't ask him to go to a charging station. I put it on at the beginning of the project, and that's it. He's set for 1.5 years without charging. Wearables, equipment that's not ruggedized for construction, it just doesn't work. So we then we set up a mesh network in the project, and we don't require any internet connection and any power supply from the construction project. So we set up our own mesh network. As a company, we have a team of experts that go in, they assess the landscape, they assess the weather conditions and stuff like that, and they set up the network. And the network and all the hardware in the network has a battery life of 4+ years. So again, it's very little maintenance from the project or from the client side. And of course, we are cloud, web-based, dashboards, and mobile apps that go and support offline mode, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So VerifyTime, which is the solution that I was talking about, we provide real-time workforce management, which is what I started with. It's RTLS, IoT, the trending technologies that everybody's talking about. This isn't a new concept, but we've taken it and we've put it in the right place. It's all about finding the right tools for the pain that you're having. So we have automated time and attendance. I'll talk a little bit more about automated. Automated is such an overused, used and abused term in the industry today. So let's talk about what automated really means. Offline capable mobile apps. When you go to site, and if you've been on a project and you've been in a basement or you've been somewhere in a remote location in the desert, you know that your connection is not going to work. So we want to be able to support offline activities. You go about your day, and then when you get back to the office, you can just sync everything that's been going on. As I mentioned, cloud-based and dashboard. So this is the mobile app. We have a booth outside. You're welcome to come and see a live demo of how things happen. I'm not going to go into too much details. I'm going to talk about this one screen. So when we first started talking about productivity, efficiency, and worker tracking, everybody asked me, but how are you going to allocate the hours? How do you know where these workers are working? How do you know what they're working on? And all of this is valid, right? So the helmet doesn't have a camera on it, but it tells me every 3 minutes where the worker is, and if he's moving or if he's idle. So taking this information from the helmet, I'm collecting all the hours for every single worker for every single day. This is automated. This is coming in without any data entry. So, what am I doing here? First of all, we want to put the right tools in the right hands. The foreman, the site engineer, the timekeeper. I'm not selling a product to the project director or to the owner. I'm selling it to the people who are suffering the real pains on site, collecting data day in, day out. I want to put this in the right hands, and I want the foreman to tell me what his crew did. But instead of, doing it the old way of let me just give him 10 hours or 8 hours, I'm showing him how many hours this guy actually delivered and how many hours he didn't deliver. And then based on that, he can go ahead and give him his hours in confidence, or he can deduct from his payroll, which is, again, the carrot and the stick. Which way are you going to go with? So, but here we have something called a group code. Now you're going to see here a bunch of different possibilities. Some projects tell me, look, we want to track the hours by cost code. Fair enough. Other people say we want to track them to the locations. Other people say, hey, we want to bring in the Primavera schedule, and I want to know what they're working on. So it's task-based. And if they're doing advanced work packaging, and they have work orders, and they have a scope that they need to finish within the week, you want to track these hours to an installation work package. Possibilities, you get people asking for things everywhere. To be able to generalize this, we said, go ahead. Choose your integration point. What do you want to collect hours on? Cost code, activity, WBS, IWP, we can do it. All you need to do is define your libraries, and then the information coming in will be linked based on the foreman's input. We have a set of reports. The good thing about WakeCap is that you can customize your reports. You can go into just see whatever the client wants, give them what they want, customize their reports, leverage this information that's coming in. A couple of months ago, I gave a talk about data in the industry. And I said that data is the new oil. Unless you refine it, you can take it, you can collect it as much as you want. But unless you refine it and you process it, it loses value. So we want to make sure that we're getting these things out there. I'm going to conclude with 2 case studies. I heard a couple of questions about, can you prove? Do you have statistics? Do you have percentages? Yes, we do. And this is only an exercise that took place for 8 weeks. This project, 6 weeks, the next one, 8 weeks. So we went there and we deployed the helmets. Every single worker on site, when they went to do their HSE training, took a helmet. He was informed that there is a tracking device here for safety, because we also have a very big safety module in WakeCap, and he went by his day. After, you can see at the beginning, this was a project with 300 workers. At the beginning, you had the reported hours at the very beginning, and the WakeCap hours had a difference of 65%. Can you imagine paying that much difference in your payroll for every single worker in every single month for hours that are not delivered? In a 2-week study, we calculated that just from labor lost hours, it was a 96,600 dirham loss. This is in 2 weeks. Now, when the project workers and the foreman, they were all made of, the campaign and the effort that we were trying to do with productivity and efficiency, you can see that people started getting their facts right. They stopped over-reporting, they stopped slacking, they stopped extending the breaks, and we went down to 8% at one point. And this is an actual case study. Let's see the next project. This project had 1,200 workers. So it's a much bigger scale of project, much more chances of waste and labor time theft. And again, 61%. And when you go in, the funny thing is that when you go in and you talk to the project management at the beginning, you ask them, so what do you think the difference is? And they'll say, 10%. And then you have one of the really honest project control guys says, 15%. He's like, being the most honest in the room. But then it's 60%. It's higher than 60%. But again, that's 270,000 dirhams, right? That's a lot of money to lose in 4 weeks. So put us to work. We have a booth outside. You can ask me any questions. I have 45 seconds. I'm here. I know you all want to get to the break. You can either ask me now or at the booth. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening.